and it's a great pleasure to welcome you all to the 6th Annual Penn Voices Festival. It's my particular favorite week in New York City because authors come from all over the world to share the word. I'd like to take a moment to thank all the wonderful festival sponsors and supporters, including the Austrian Cultural Center and our host venue. Without using it with this generosity, none of this would be possible. I'm also thanking the more than 100 volunteers who've given their time to help Penn Voices this year, and you'll see them around at all of the events. There are many more festival events for you to attend. You can find out everything you need to know in the program that's been presented or on the website, www.penn.org. During the session, a clipboard will be sent around. We hope you'll add your name so you can receive the Penn newsletter. You'll notice an empty chair on the stage here. It represents those artists around the world who've been robbed of their right to freedom of expression, who are prevented from practicing their craft openly or without fear of persecution, and who are unable to join us today. It is a reminder that the silencing of writers in one country robs the entire world of their voices. This particular chair is dedicated to one of the more than 900 writers who last year were either killed, disappeared on trial, or in hiding for their work. Another note, if you'd like to buy the books of the authors we talk about today, you may be able to find purchases of those books at a sales table outside. Before I introduce each of our guests, I'll remind you to turn off cell phones or anything else that might make a noise, so take a minute. I'm really pleased today that the National Book Critics Circle can be represented once again at Penn World Voices. We're an organization of some 600 critics around the country, founded at the Algonquin Roundtable 36 years ago as a way of bringing the Algonquin conversation to a national level. So we have a website, www.bookcritics.org, upon which we interact with people. You can see our programs, podcasts, and so forth. Two of our distinguished board members are part of our panel. Eric Banks, who's our blogging chair. He's also a writer and editor based in New York. He's the former editor of Book Forum and senior editor at Art Forum. His writing has appeared in numerous publications, including the Financial Times, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Guardian. He contributes frequently to the Chronicle for Higher Education, and as I say, he's a member of the board of the National Critics Circle. Rigoberto González, on my left, is also our NBCC officer. He's our treasurer. He's the author of 8 books, most recently of the young adult novel, The Mariposa Club, and a story collection, Men Without Bliss. The recipient of Guggenheim and NEA Fellowships, a winner of the American Book Award and the Poetry Center Book Award. He writes in a Latino book column for the El Paso Times of Texas. He's a contributing editor for Poets and Writers magazine, on the board of directors of the National Book Critics Circle, and an associate professor of English at Rutgers, Newark, State University of New York. And we are really thrilled to have with us today as our special guest to talk about the work of King Monzo, the distinguished Marianne Newman, who's the director of the Catalan Center at New York University, Center for European and Mediterranean Studies. She's a translator, editor, and occasional writer on Catalan culture. In addition to King Monzo, whose novel Gasoline, with her translation, is coming out any second now from Open Letter Books. She's translated Xavier Roberto Teventes, Juan Marigal, Joseph Cardinal, Narcís Comadera, among others. Thank you. All right, we're going to go chronologically. I've asked each of our conversants to present material that can give you context for some of the writers you'll be hearing about or hearing during the Penn World Voices. I think it is a useful thing. I felt the first time I arrived at this event that I wish I'd known more. I had to go home and Google a lot. So anyway, we're going to begin with Eric to go alphabetically, and each of us will present on our own. Thanks. Eric.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Hi. I'm just going to say a few words about a couple of writers that Jane asked me to be on the panel, somebody to speak about. And it's in a certain way difficult to contextualize it because I think in one case, one of the writers is extremely well known, Schneider, and in another case, the writer transports extremely well. I see sitting in the audience, so I'm especially intimidated that Peter Stamm, the Swiss writer. I think it's not a stretch to say that the main thing thing that these two writers have in common is they both write in German language. They don't really share a lot otherwise in common. But I want to start by actually shilling for even a third writer here, who's, just to mix things up even a little bit more, Peter Stamm's translator is Michael Hoffman, and he's done an amazingly beautiful job in translating Peter Stamm's novels and stories into English. Michael Hoffman will also be appearing tonight at a panel that I think is going to be incredibly fascinating on Stefan Zweig. If you're not familiar with the recent, really sort of like one of the literary controversies of the year, Hoffman wrote a piece in the London Review of Books earlier this year addressing the sort of recent revival of interest in Zweig's writings, particularly in his memoir of Pre-War Vienna, A World Yesterday, in which he excoriated those who had a sort of free interest in making a critical claim for Zweig's importance. Zweig was really a figure of world literature in a way that a type that we just really, it's hard to imagine today. But he, in addition to his memoir, his novellas, his work for Strauss, he also wrote biographies of everyone ranging from Balzac to Casanova to incredible books on Amerigo Vespucci and Mary Baker Eddy. And I think that my impression, especially with the presence of Paul Holdengraber, it'll be a good sort of match to see who can make the best or the worst case for Zweig's importance. But one of the things that I think will be really interesting about that, in one way, it helps frame a little bit about what we might say or think about, particularly Peter Schneider, is the fact that it will address, I hope, how one critically reassesses the body of work that at least as it was introduced to English language readers, takes place in a very much in a moment that was so extremely circumscribed by political, economic, and cultural factors, and particularly the flight from Nazism. I think that's always a fascinating question that may not sometimes appear quite so clear cut in some panels or in World Voices, where there is a real sense of the contemporary voice, the contemporary writer. So I'm hoping to see, and that panel's tonight at 7 o'clock, and so I'm sort of shilling for it, but also hoping it might be a way that I might think a little bit also about